references were inevitable. A daring and dramatic prison break in upstate New York, reminiscent of the popular movie The Shawshank Redemption. But some media outlets have gone farther, in some cases taking cues from Shawshank and other prison fiction like Orange is the New Black. It's one thing to mention how a real-life news story compares to fiction, but another to vet the differences.
First, Andy Dufresne was a sympathetic fictional character, framed for the murder of his wife.
This USA Today reporter does a blow-by-blow on how the upstate New York escape differed from that of the movie version played by actor Tim Robbins.
Third, the real-life convicts didn't have to trudge through a muddy pond.
The real-life Tim Robbins had a good laugh about it.
Actually, those two guys called me about a month ago.
But even he says the comparisons are out of hand.
That was a movie, this is real life.
But beyond Shawshank Redemption, there have been references to the Netflix series Orange is the New Black.
We can figure something out.
Why bother with fiction when the real story is compelling enough, like how they really did it and what tools they used? And there's crazy sidebars, too, like this story on women who fall in love with prisoners.
Charlie would not hurt a fly, literally.
Leading to the inevitable suggestion that someone who got close to the guys might have helped.
One possible answer is prison worker Joyce Mitchell. She worked with the men.
Well, I mean, after all, prisoners do get close to their captors.
It's gonna be fine, baby.
I'm about to lose my job.
Okay, then, let's leave it at that.
This is great, interweaving all of these clips. I have to say, though, when I first heard about the prison break, and you see the detail, the precise operation that these guys went through, it was reminiscent, but weaving these tales through it as if, and I couldn't believe that USA Today guy. He really said, well, it wasn't quite like that. It was like he went through a 10-point.
He sounded very serious.
Yeah, he was very serious. Yeah. Instead of having some humor with it, but there's something about there's a romance to this that the media just can't help itself, sort of embracing. It's almost like, and I kind of kiddingly said, you almost are rooting for these guys. And what if they thought of this, and what if they thought of that, and this idea that they're zeroing in on this one little acre of land now seems. I think the media is saying they're hoping that they're in, Mexico somewhere.
Well, it's a great story, but at the same time, these are convicted killers of the worst sort, and comparing it to Hollywood entertainment in which the protagonist appeared to have been framed for something he didn't do, on a certain level, it's really kind of offensive. I mean, it's fine to draw some analogies. It's hard not to think of them to, the famous escape in the Shawshank Redemption. There are some similarities here, but enough is enough. And there have been any number of stories that kind of go point by point. In the Shawshank Redemption, they did this. In real life, they did that. Enough. These people are very dangerous, and I hope they're brought to justice before anybody gets hurt.
So you're not rooting for them, like Emily?
I am not rooting for them.
I shouldn't say. Don't send me emails. You know what I mean. There's this sort
I know
of
what you mean.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to suggest that maybe the rush to go with fictionalized accounts of prison and prison escapes to cover this, maybe it is in some way connected with the fact that prison is sort of a world apart, that it's hard to cover, it's hard to sort of know what it really operates like on the inside. We don't get in very much. Maybe we could try harder, but I think the system is designed to keep us out. So that might be one reason that people are kind of getting a little bit silly here.
I mean, bah humbug. Come on. What would you have us do? I mean, it reminds me of this week we lost, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was an editor for the New York Post for many years and was the author of the famous headline.
Oh, yes,
to describe there had been a murder in a dive bar in Queens, New York. And the New York Times headline on the story was, "Body found in local bar, police investigating." This genius's headline was, "Headless body in topless bar." Probably the all-time.
They had decapitated the guy. Yeah.
So, there's a mandate, not just in the tabloid press.
Vincent Musetto, I'm hearing.
Vincent Musetto, thank you very much. May rest in peace, or pieces. No, why did I go there? There's a mandate to make the news as interesting as you possibly can. And while I certainly share the sentiment that we shouldn't overlook the violence of the crimes, I didn't really appreciate the racist Asian drawing they left.
Oh, I know. I didn't get that.
I didn't hear much comment about that either. These guys are dirtbags, yes, and that should be a key component of the story. But if you can't find some
Humor?
romance or at least some cultural touchstone in this, then, what's the point?
By the way, the newspapers were equally culpable. I just want you to know, I saw more headlines from the LA Times, Washington Post did it, a number of papers.
That's one funny aspect of this. All of the coverage seems really repetitive, including in the newspapers. If this were 20 years ago, you wouldn't know necessarily that every single other newspaper in the country was using that same reference point. It's only by virtue of the internet that we can find that out. I agree with John. I think there's an effort to make things relatable. I, for one, was shocked to find out that killers could also be racist. Who knew that they could be bad in more than one way? But I also agree with Adam that there really aren't many points of contact between people in the outside world and the prison world, which is a huge part of our government expenditure, and so therefore we have to resort to fiction.
But I think one of the problems is that the fictional count almost overtakes it in a way, which is why I'm kidding about this, but you start rooting. Well, of course, we were rooting for Andy Dufresne, and then you find yourself thinking, well, maybe you should root for these guys, because it gets in your head that there's this, sort of a sexy notion to it.
Yeah, and I'm not, to Dante's point about 20 years ago, we wouldn't have known that all these newspapers were doing the same thing. 20 years ago, we didn't have the internet so that the newspapers could all copy each other doing the same thing. Yeah. I think they all got their ideas from the same place, too, and they said, oh, that looks good. I think we'll do it, too.
All right, are they going to get them this weekend?
Yes.
I think they're closing in, absolutely.
They're closing in, to use another cliche.
The net, the drag net.